This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm Anindor Mel. This show is live and broadcast from our studios in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. Today, government and public sector unions meet to iron out a wage negotiation deal. We hear from an analyst on that story. Then we venture into the Transkei to bring you the coronation of a Xhosa king. And New Innovation is also in studio to give us Africa's latest good news. We end the program with delicious international music and food festival returning to South Africa. But first, let's get the day's news. Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza is expected to make a national address in the coming hours after declaring that he's back in the country. An official spokesperson says the president will continue to campaign for a third term in office in next month's elections. The president has already started dealing with those involved in the attempted coup against him. In an exclusive interview with the SABC, the president's spokesperson, Willie Mkamande, also said that the election could be postponed.
In 2010, we had postponed for some days elections and didn't create any problem. So why not? According to the Constitution, we can postpone an election if the Electoral Commission finds it accurate. So this is not a problem. The government can accept this, but it has to be decided by the Electoral Commission.
Meanwhile, bursts of gunfire in the capital continue despite coup forces retreating back to the military base. The United Nations and its Security Council are unable to confirm which groups are in control of Bujumbura. Although loyalist supporters of the president say they are in control of major assets such as the airport, the presidential offices and the state broadcaster. The UN Council was briefed in a closed-door session by the UN's envoy for the Great Lakes region via teleconference from Kenya. President Jacob Zuma has meanwhile called for peace in Burundi, saying a further escalation of violence won't benefit anyone. He was responding to oral questions in the National Council of Provinces. Public service unions are due to respond to government's 7% wage offer today. This as most public sector unions should receive mandates from their members on whether to accept or reject the latest pay and conditions offer. Indications so far are that the offer, based on an estimate 4.8% inflation rate for this year but includes an additional 2.2%, will be accepted. And today, the Coronation will see its first coronation in 50 years. It will be a significant day for the Xhosa people of South Africa, as Mpendulo Zwelonke Tikau will be coronated as their king. He will be the 21st king of the Xhosa nation when he officially takes office. Now, prospects for South Africa's economic growth and the outlook for 2015 is likely to come under more constraint due to unemployment, load shedding, looming retrenchments and industrial action. The last round of wage talks between government and public sector trade unions resumes today, with the prospect for a strike looming in the public sector. A wage increase of between 7 and 8% for civil servants this year will add between 42 and 60 billion rands to the already struggling fiscus. Free Market Foundation Labour economist Lone Sharp is in studio today to analyse the situation for us. Lone, thank you so much for coming through today.
Thank you. Can
we just start with where we currently are at? Unions have already said there have been 2 offers from government. They've rejected those 2 offers. Today we're about to hear on the 7% being accepted. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, for a long time, the settlement reached between the government and the unions, public sector unions, has been trivial. Unions have worked out that by regrading jobs, promoting people to management, they can basically get the increases that they want. So whether the Minister of Finance agrees to 5 or 6 or 7% is not important. because there are other extra budgetary mechanisms that the unions can use to escalate wages. But we are in crisis. 88% of government final spending at the moment is consumed by compensation of employees. That leaves only 12% for the payment of interest, the building of infrastructure, etc. So the public sector workforce is in chaos. It's grown from 1.1 million in 1994 to 3 million today. This is totally unsustainable. The taxpayer cannot afford these extremely generous wages and working conditions. Housing allowances, medical aid allowances, generous pension fund allowances. But I think the public sector unions are going to dwindle in time. At the moment, unionization has declined to such an extent in the private sector that only 1 in 4 workers is unionized. If you exclude the public service, only 1 in 8 workers is unionized. So really the only part of the economy where workers are unionized is in the public sector on any significant scale. So there are now more union members in the civil service than the entire private sector workforce put together. And this is obviously unsustainable. But, you know, whether we have 5, 6 or 7% is irrelevant. 20 years of above inflation increases, consistent also with the lowest productivity levels in 46 years, are totally unsustainable.
There are talks of a looming strike. I think this is if unions again today are unhappy. South Africa cannot afford to see what we saw last year with AMCU, that massive strike. So if that is on the cards, what will be happening?
Well, you know, we talk about the wage increase of 7%, adding 42 to 60 billion rand to the public sector payroll. That's the least of our concerns. What does it do to the private sector where that money comes from? For the 60 billion that it will add to the fiscus, these increases, it'll remove about 190 billion rand of investments that were planned by private businesses over the next year. So it's too simplistic to say that it's going to cost the economy 60 billion. It's also going to cost the economy what we lost in investment spending that would have occurred if we didn't have these generous wage increases. I think government has been captured by the public sector unions. We're seeing cadre deployment, we're seeing corruption that is now endemic. For example, in education, 486,000 teachers refuse to have their performance evaluated. They refuse to have inspectors in classrooms. They refuse to allow learner performance in the classroom to be a measure of their own performance as teachers. This is just in education. In healthcare, in policing, in every one of these areas, we've got serious chaos. Just in private security, we've got 900,000 private security guards on the beat. Compare that to 500,000 policemen and women.
Yes.
The private sector is developing alternatives to a public sector that is in an advanced state of collapse.
What is then the intervention for government for the public sector?
Well, it's a contract between South Africans specified in the Constitution that economic redress is required for historical impunity. But there are many better ways than just packing people into the public service. I wouldn't even call that transformation. I'd call that enrichment. For example, why don't we give away shares in SAA, the airports company, Eskom, Transnet? Why don't we give these shares away to disadvantaged people who could sell those shares, start a small business, put a deposit down on a house or on a car, educate their children? That would be real transformation. I think using the public sector workforce for a transformation, or let's call it an enrichment agenda, has been disastrous for the provision of those services. So privatization is the best way to put probably 120 to 125,000 rand into the hands of every South African to do with as they please.
Well, that's definitely something I think we should be considering. I thank you very much for joining us today. That's Lone Sharp, just analyzing the situation for us today as government expects to hear if unions have accepted their 7% wage offer. Now, today Newsroom goes down to trace the roots of African tradition as we venture deep into the rural area of Transkei for the coronation of a Xhosa king. It's a very significant day in the Xhosa nation as Mpendulo Zwelonke Sikhawu will be crowned as the 21st king of the Xhosa nation. It is also the first coronation in 50 years. His father, the King Zolile, died 9 years ago. Preparations for the event has been finalized, and the event is the first of its kind since the advent of democracy in South Africa 21 years ago. President Jacob Zuma is expected to grace the occasion. Our SABC assignments editor Tammy Dixon joins us from the Great Place in Willowale in the Eastern Cape, and he's standing by with a guest. Well, Tammy, I'm sure there is a lot of excitement there this morning. Tell us what's happening.
Well, thank you very much, Anin, and welcome to the Great Place here at Ngadu. Indeed, the celebrations are underway. We are now counting just minutes before we see the delegation and of the King and the President of the Republic moving in here to where the event is going to be held. But to get more details about this, we are now joined here with me on the set by the Deputy Chair of the House of Traditional Leaders here in the Eastern Cape, Utatu Zolile Benz Ngamashe. Tata, thank you very much for being us here. What is the significance of this coronation? It's something that has never happened in the past 50 years. How important is this?
Indeed, this is a very great historic milestone, particularly as a nation that emerges from a history of political subjugation, conquest and land dispossession, wherein the institution of traditional leadership was a target of attack by colonizers and who invaded almost the whole of the continent. So occasions of this nature, in particular this coronation, you see the convergence wherein a democratically elected government of the people interfacing with the institution of traditional leadership in ensuring that the dignity of the institution is restored. South Africans in generally are brought back into realizing the importance of their culture and heritage, which we think is very important if we want to invest in the identity of South Africans as a nation.
Right. Now, what's the highlight of the coronation? What's going to be the apex of this historical moment here today?
Well, the apogee indeed will be at the point when the king is formally enrobed with his traditional regalia. That will be the climax, the finality of the occasion, which obviously will be followed by speeches. But the most historic moment is that occasion, which I think those of us who happen to be this current generation should count ourselves as having been blessed to at least be part of a historic and important occasion as this one, because the next generation they will only relate to this kind of occasion by reading it from books and listening to stories.
Thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, we have to leave it here, but thank you very much for the insight that you have given us. We are now going to hear from the Premier of the Eastern Cape. Thank you very much, sir. Upumulo Maswale, as he joins us here on the set. As we know that, Premier, as I welcome you, this is really a historical moment in the history of our country. We do know that the President of the Republic is going to join the celebrations here. What is the significance of this, particularly in the context of our country being a constitutional democracy?
Well, firstly, one of the things we've set ourselves as a country is to celebrate our legacy, to build from it social cohesion and build a new society. What we're doing today here is very significant in that it is part of the restoration of the dignity of our peoples, that over years they were deprived of that due to artificial divisions that characterized our past. We're now seeing greater unity amongst peoples, celebrating their heritage, their traditions and customs. Today is part of that, but certainly done in the context of building a new society, moving forward. So it is, in that regard, a very significant cause for celebration.
Now, we do know that, the area of traditional leadership in South Africa is fraught with a lot of disputes and divisions in some cases and so on. And even as we stand here, we have emerged from that kind of a journey to get to this point. I just want to find out from you, Premier, how confident are you that moving forward from here, we're not going to see any comebacks in terms of challenging the process and the event itself?
Well, look, we are a constitutional democracy. Certainly, people do exercise their rights wherever they feel that they are infringed. But certainly, we've come a long way to get to where we are today. And those that are affected and that mean a lot to the exercise have had a fair share of their say. And indeed, it is significant that we have reached this point. And going forward, we can only look forward with great anticipation. This should serve as an important building block, uniting all the people across the length and breadth of the province, Xhosa, to rally behind their king, which the royal house has converged on. And as government, we can only look forward to working with them to build our country.
Premier, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
That's the Premier of our province, Phumulo Maswale. You can see he's wearing, his very nice traditional gear, fit for the royal occasion that it is here. So that's what we're going to see here. Anin, it's going to be a very interesting day, and we see a lot of people coming in. We're going to see a lot of traditional dances. It's really going to be a celebration here. But with that, it's back to you, Anin, at the studio.
Well, Tammy Dixon there from the Eastern Cape, where it's, of course, a historic day. Let's just take a look at some of your tweets coming in. Please remember to send us your views on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Here we see the first tweet says, the live broadcast of the Xhosa King's coronation is good media representation of his ethnic group. Yes, that's right. Then another tweet coming in is saying, the king to be coronated this morning, #heritage, #Amaxhosa. A lot of happening, a lot of excitement at least there in the Eastern Cape. This tweet says, coronation of the Xhosa king today, Zwelonke. Then Dudu says, the coronation of Amaxhosa king, Zwelonke, back to our roots. Mzukuzi says, why should we celebrate the Queen of England, monarchs of France, Belgium, etc., and feel bad about our own? Zwelonke. And then he is, of course, happy about that occasion there in the Eastern Cape. Well, it's time to take a look at the picture of the day that comes from Jerry Simpson. He says, as Burundi arrests the coup leaders, journalists are also in the firing line. And there you can see some of those dramatic pictures that have come through on social media. Let's now take a look at the front pages from around the globe. Starting in Europe, the Times reports that leaders of the United Kingdom's Independent Party dismissed calls to step down from his position last night, despite a bitter row over his future. Moving across to Asia, the South China Morning Post says China and India have signed 24 agreements during the Indian Prime Minister's trip to Beijing, including pledges to cooperate on space exploration, trade, mining and tourism. And in Nigeria, the Vanguard reports that at least 60 people, mostly suspected members of Boko Haram insurgents, were feared dead in a clash between troops of the 7 divisions. Let's now take a look at what's happening around the country today. We start in Johannesburg, where Rodman Critch's defense is expected to present cell phone records to the High Court in hope that they will disprove some of the testimony already heard in the trial. Then in Pietermaritzburg, the High Court is set to sentence 2 men convicted of the rape, robbery and murder of a Catholic nun. And in Durban, a 19-year-old man is expected to appear in the Pinetown Magistrates Court in connection with the murder of a teenager. The accused handed himself over to police 2 months ago after allegedly using a hammer to kill his victim. Well, it's time now to take a break. We'll be back in a bit.
Information-hungry viewers stay with SABC News, as issues on the West are different from issues on the East or here in Johannesburg. So it is not surprising that people who follow the news know that there are 2 things for sure: that anything can happen, and SABC News will tell you when it does. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News. Now, we at Newsroom are regularly joined by the team from Newsroom, a digital platform that focuses on amplifying innovation and good news from across Africa. Along with new innovations, the platform highlights selfless actions by individuals, companies and governments on the continent. And yet, to give us the latest from Africa's good news is Newsroom founder Katu Mashao. Katu, finally in the country, where have you been traveling to?
Well, I just came back last night from Morocco. We were celebrating the best of African innovation, the Innovation Prize for Africa. So it was good. It was exciting. Then there was Germany, where I was dealing with electronic mobility, which is what we're going to talk about quickly now. And then there's France now. My colleague is in France for the Cannes Film Festival. So innovation is our part, as your partner. We're doing well. However, with your support and everybody else's support, we try.
Definitely. Just to put us on the plane next time, please.
We can go next week.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. Katu, let's just start before we get to those motors, like you've just said. The City of Johannesburg Smart Plan, a plan to educate young people on how to improve their skills when it comes to technology. What is this all about?
Well, they've got fiber that is laid underground, and smart cities all over the world are based on connectedness. on connectivity as it is. Now, with fiber being laid underground, you need young people or skills to be able to maintain that. You need it to be utilized in such a way that it will benefit the communities. It is of no use for fiber to be underground and yet it does not reach homes, industries and sectors. So they realize that there is a need to develop a resource base whereby young people are trained in 21st century skills to be able to work on those particular elements of connectivity. Now, we are currently training with Innovation Africa Foundation and various sponsors like your Fibercore, Microsoft, and the city of Johannesburg that have actually come out and say, we are going to train these young people on network engineering, on fiber optics, on security on the net, and furthermore help them to develop applications that can then be used out there. So they have recruited about 250 young people that are currently going through that vigorous training. For 4 months, they'll be going through training, and then after 4 months, they go into a working environment. After the working environment, we expose them to the international exposure, international markets, for them to understand how connectivity is in other European countries, other African countries. And all in all, we're looking to have 1,000 young people finally going through. So a lot of people keep on saying, governments are putting things that are not really working. But here we're saying the city of Johannesburg is actually leading the pack, and they have committed and they're actually doing what they needed to do. And it's happening. Downtown, Newtown, at Saibono, anybody who wants to come and visit, they can come and visit and see what we're doing there.
I would say the selected group is a lucky group of young people. How were these students selected? What ages are we looking at? How is it working?
We're looking at ages of 18 to 35. As we trying to be politically and correct. But most importantly, we wanted to give everybody an opportunity from all the villages around Johannesburg, and whether they should be having a minimum of matric or a related qualification. We then looked at also at the vigor, the willingness to learn, and the ability for them to dream and be innovative. But most importantly, what we wanted is to get young people that have got a drive to say we want to be part of the future cities and be part of the smart cities, not only as employees, but get skills and be able to contribute positively and significantly to the development of the city and the economy.
I would say really a clever plan by the city of Joburg. Is this the way forward? I know this morning reports of the Gauteng Education Department saying that the tablets they've sent into schools are being stolen. They're now taking those tablets back. You know, there are so many challenges, but if, for instance, the city of Tshwane start looking at doing the same thing, there is a way forward.
Yes, there is. You know, it pains my heart because I know the people that have been working on that, and when they say now they are pulling back, it means that the paperless classroom concept is gone purely because of thievery or thuggery that is happening in our communities. And unless if us as communities and as parents, they stand up and say, this shall not happen in our own communities, because the people that are robbing and going to steal those iPads or laptops or whatever are people that we know in the same community. So we need to take care of our own. I'm worried because in the city of Johannesburg, we are giving these young people laptops to ensure that they are able to work, because it's of no use for them to have laptops or for us to have fiber and internet connectivity when young people cannot access it. So these people have been given laptops. Suppose they all get robbed on the street. What would it be? You know? So we need to find better ways of controlling this and better ways of working with law enforcement to ensure that we nip this kind of threats in the bud.
Then, Katsi, just to end off with, I think you said we're going to talk about e-mobility as well. What are the exciting developments around that?
The Technology Innovation Agency in Pretoria with the new CEO, well done, congratulations they've got a new CEO now. But what they did with the skills development unit, they felt that the electronic mobility sector is growing. and we do not have the right people that can actually service this particular skills, this particular industry, because it's not only about electronic cars that you see with your Tesla, your BMW, and your Nissan, but it is a whole lot of things that you can see behind it. And if you look at it, it has been identified as the industry of the elite, whereby a Tesla is not your average car that anybody can afford. Nissan Leaf, it's not everybody that can afford it, but we needed to get more and more young people that can be more innovative and come up with ideas to bring down the cost, to improve the issues of charging and the mobility across the entire country. What they are starting with is your pedicabs, in terms of pedaling cabs that you pedal, that are that are using electronic mobility. We will be rolling out something happening in the next 3 months with the Uyilo group that is based in, it's a governmental institution that is based in PE. And with TIA, what they are trying to do is to ensure that those young people that we've just recently came back with from Germany, that were exposed to Porsche, to Daimler Chrysler, to Renault, to various institutions, to see and have them to understand what is happening, such that they can come back now and their ideas that they've got, be able to push them through the different existing programs that the TIA and various institutions have. So you could see that already there's a lot of good things that South Africa is doing, that these governmental institutions are doing. But when we talk of mobility, people think of a car. It's not just a car.
Not just a car, definitely.
There's issues of battery, forecourts, and a whole lot of things.
Okay, well, founder of Newnovation, Katu Mashal, always bringing us the good news.
Yes.
There is so much to be excited about.
Lots to talk
Thank you
about.
for joining us today, Katu.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your travels.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
All right, it's now time to take a look at what you've been saying on social media. Please remember to send your views to us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. There we see the power of now says, if you wake up one day and you realize you don't love your spouse anymore, please divorce them. Hashtag Christopher Anayotu. Yes, we know Christopher appeared in court yesterday and an extra charge was added to that case against him. Babalaw says, you conspired to have your wife killed. Now you're complaining about prison. Food for thought. Oh, that's tough. Hashtag Christopher Anayotu. All right. Flock says, Christopher, most of the standard bail consideration is in place here. Anayotu will probably be granted bail. We'll have to wait and see. Table says, so this Christopher guy believes his wife's murder wasn't a big deal. There are many worse ones. Terence says, real loathsome human to this Christopher. Sounds like he could also have a touch of narcissistic personality disorder. Well, those are your views coming in on that case over there. But now, the Delicious International Music and Food Festival returns to Johannesburg next month. This year, the biggest focus is, of course, on food, with a lineup including the famous chef Reza Mohammed. The Food Network celebrity chef calls himself a hybrid torn between two worlds due to the combination of his Indian upbringing and British education. Reza entered into the world of cookery at the age of 16, and his love for adding new flavors and dimensions to his traditional dishes has earned him the title of the Prince of Spices. Today, he joins us in studio. I must say, I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning.
I know this is not your first time in South Africa.
No, definitely not.
Do you enjoy coming to the country? What do you think about the food?
Well, I love coming back because I feel like this is a second or third home to me, because I'm between England, France and South Africa. And what I love is just every time I come back, it feels like I've just click and belong here, so it's wonderful. Yeah.
What do you think in terms of this food, the spices we have here? Do we even know, how lucky we are?
Well, you have the spices, but how do you use the spices? That's the thing which I'm here to teach. And the reason why I've been in the country is that I've just done a whole series with Jenny Morris. We're just setting up the Fabulous Food Academy, which will be shown in September. But above all, I'm here also to promote the Delicious Food Festival, because that's happening on the 6th of June, and you've got the wonderful talents like Drizzabone and Shaka Khan. We're all going to be turning up at the food festival.
So it's going to be a package of
Yes.
like what you can expect,
Absolutely.
entertainment, food.
Absolutely.
But listen, for someone like me, I struggle to boil an egg. So you say you're going to be helping some of these people. What exactly are you going to be showing us? Because if you're going to come here with things that I just cannot make, I'm going to be lost.
Well, the thing is, what we're doing, there are going to be 4 demos which we're doing during the day, Jenny Morris, myself, and we're giving you a taste of what's to come in the series from the Fabulous Food Academy. So we'll be doing lots of lovely, interesting dishes, which I think people will love to do, and it's going to be more of a cook-along. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about you. We know you for cooking, but what else do you enjoy doing?
I love, well, food is part and parcel of my life, but music is also very intrinsic to my life too, because actually, funnily enough, when I was young, before food, actually I wanted to be a concert pianist. That's what I really wanted to be.
Are you happy you didn't go down that route?
No, well, actually, I still love music and I still embrace music. And I go to a lot of, when I'm back in the UK, I always follow the opera, and I feel I'm starved here because I don't see much opera here. Yeah. And I follow opera very, 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 very sort of like a hawk. As well as I love music, and I always go to a lot of concerts too back in the UK. So there's lots of, music is part of my sort of soul too.
And you cook with music?
I do. I love that. And that's why I think this is a fantastic thing on the 6th of June. You've got food and music, and they're so intertwined and interrelated, and they're both the sort of the expression of the senses, which is so important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just tell us about some of the other projects you're currently involved with, international ones. Where can we see you on the television?
Well, there will be in September. Food Network's going to bring out the Fabulous Food Academy with Jenny Morris and Reza Mohammed. And there's also a few projects which I have a cookery school in France, and also, right, sorry, and also I've got cookery school in France, and I teach there, and so there's a lot of things happening, and also I've got quite a few weddings in various chateaux in France too, so there's quite a lot of work.
And being in South Africa now, are you going to at least have a bit of time for traveling, doing anything else?
Well, I'm actually leaving the country on Sunday,
Okay.
back to the UK just for a week, and then to France, and then back here in June for the food festival, yes, which is going to be held at the Waterfall Polo Estate.
Polo Estate, yes,
yeah.
I've been there. I think it's a great location for all of this taking place.
Absolutely.
Then just tell us what, to encourage people to come again, what should they be looking forward to? Will there be any surprises at all?
Well, there's going to be lots of things happening, and I think we're going to create a lot of fun and madness on our demos. And there's also, Siba's going to be there, I'm going to be there with Jenny, and so there's quite a lot going on in terms of the food side. And obviously the music's going to be amazing because Shaka Khan, she's one of my great fans. I love Shaka. I'm a great fan of hers. Let's put it that way. So it'd be quite good to actually listen to it. And I think I'm going to be ending up dancing with everybody else.
We will be looking out for you over there. All right. Of course, the Delicious Food Festival coming to South Africa in June. It's now time to take a look at the tweet of the day. This comes in from using hashtag Burundi coup. Though not a success, should send a strong signal to dictators that when democracy fails, other options lay bare. Yes, still talking about Burundi this morning, as the situation there seems to finally be coming under control, but we'll keep you updated. Now let's take time to look at what's happening on our Newsroom Facebook page today. You'll see politicians, academics and traditional leaders from all over Africa are expected to attend the coronation of the Xhosa king at the Green Place in the Eastern Cape. This as the first coronation to be conducted by President Jacob Zuma after 21 years of democracy takes place. Then police in Mozambique have seized 1.3 tons of elephant ivory and rhino horn worth about 70 million rand in the country's biggest ever find of illegal wildlife products. Police say an Asian man has been arrested in Maputo. And President Barack Obama vowed yesterday to back Gulf allies against any external attacks, seeking to reassure them of Washington's strong commitment to their security despite Arab anxiety over United States-led efforts to reach a nuclear deal with Iran. Well, we've got sad news today, and that is that American blues guitarist B.B. King, best known for his hit song The Thrill is Gone, has died at the age of 89. King, who took to the blues from rural jukebox hangouts to the mainstream, influenced a generation of rock guitarists from Eric Clapton to Stevie Ray. It's now time to go to a break. We'll be back in a bit.
We live in a digital era, and the number of Africans with mobile phones is rapidly increasing.
Twitter use is predominantly being done on smartphones. This is a very African phenomenon.
Here, there are constantly new innovative ways to make the internet more affordable. With that, we're seeing protests against governments proposing methods to limit access. On Network, we give you information about all of this. We also have new computers, games, and robots.
Join Siphumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 19:30 CAT.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News. Let's just have a look at the stories making headlines. Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza is expected to make a national address in the coming hours after declaring that he's back in the country. The president's spokesperson says the president will continue to campaign for a third term in office in next month's elections, but also said that the election could be postponed. Public service unions are due to respond to government's 7% wage offer today. This as most public sector unions should receive mandates from their members on whether to accept or reject the latest pay and conditions offered. The offer is based on an estimate 4.8%, but includes an additional 2.2%. And today, the Coronation will see its first coronation in 50 years. It will be a significant day for the Xhosa people of South Africa, as Mpendulo Zwelonke Sikau will be coronated as the 21st king when he takes office. Well now, what initially started as a hobby of fixing bikes has turned into a successful business called Fixing Diaries. After two brothers, Mojalefa and Karabo Masopa's mother passed away, they started to rebuild bikes, which quickly turned popular amongst their friends, and soon community members were interested in buying their creations. The brothers, with their friends, decided to refurbish and create custom bikes. Fixing Diaries has since grown to a group of 4 young entrepreneurs from Soweto. And joining us today is Fixing Diaries marketing strategist Tsepo Rancho.
Yes.
Finally, get it right. Tsepo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just start with this whole concept of Fixing Diaries.
Yes.
Or fixing the bicycles, at least in your communities. What sparked the idea?
So yeah, just like you read, it started from Mujalefa and Karabo Masopa when they just lost their mother. They attended a ride with one of their colleagues in which they saw that people actually were doing different things. They had bicycles and everything, and then they thought, how do we become different? How do we differentiate ourselves from the other people? Let's add this to the bicycle, let's add that, remove this and that. And from that, they came up with these concepts and started building these bicycles. And from there, they then started doing it for people on those rides, and people started coming and started becoming like a business. It progressed, then they pulled in some of us, then it became a business, and it is what it is today.
And you've opened a shop. In what community is the shop open?
Oh yeah, so we started off in Soweto, where our workshop was, and then we got the incredible opportunity of opening in Melville, corner 7th and 2nd Avenue. Yeah, we have a shop there. You can come. It has a kitchen as well. So you can come for a healthy bite and a drink and cycle around, whatever the case is. Yeah.
Let's just talk about how young are you guys? You look very young to me.
Yeah, we are all 30 is the maximum. I won't say who's 30, but yeah.
So it's under 30 and to the age of 30, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What has the response been in the community to your business?
It has been incredible, actually. People are accepting us and they're joining. They're always asking. They're very curious as to what is this, what is that. And, I mean, it's a big job, especially on my part, just educating the people about cycling, because cycling is not so big in South Africa. But we see that the wave, we're sort of going towards the cycle, the cycle thing. So now people are starting to become more curious and they're always popping by the store and they're ordering bicycles, wanting them custom made and everything. So it's pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good.
So talk about the current cycling community in Soweto. How big is that community, and are people quickly, really becoming interested in the fact that they want to ride, they want to take part, they want to live a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, so in Soweto, actually, what's nice is that commonly we see, especially with the ladies, we see the ladies jogging on the sides of the roads in the mornings and in the evenings, which is something that it's good, but it's very unsafe, given where we live. But what's cool is that with a bike community, you get to be in a group and it's much safer. So people are much open to that. And what we do is that we plan rides in a different way, not the conventional just riding. We normally have pit stops where people can have activities at each stop depending on what the ride is about. So whether it's playing games that we grew up playing in Soweto, or whether it's eating, or whether it's doing this or that. So it just makes it much more interesting, not just the conventional cycling. So, yeah, people are very interested when they see those type of things.
And will there be any plans soon to take part in the big cycling races we see here in South Africa?
Yes, actually in the pipeline. Fingers crossed, everything will go well. But yes, we are talking to some people and we hopefully want to join in. Yeah.
And then I just want to ask you, it's so inspiring to see a group of young people doing something like this. Are you going out into your community and saying to them, listen here, if it's bicycles, if it's anything else, just get that idea and do the same?
Yeah, definitely. There's, in Soweto, there's a very interesting thing happening right now with young entrepreneurs coming up. Actually, it's very scary. So we now have these workshops and everything where we just address each other from different sectors. So we tell each other, tip each other on different things, and we're always open to work with people. So we're not specifically saying, no, because you're not whoever, we won't work with you. We work with everyone, and we try to encourage people to do the same, because, yeah.
I don't think that is scary at all. I think it's wonderful that you say that there's this group of young, emerging entrepreneurs in a place like Soweto trying to do something and to make their dreams come true.
Yeah.
But Seppo, I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Please keep up the good work, and we will definitely come and visit your shop sometime soon.
Please do. Please do.
All right, let's now take a look at your tweets. Please remember to send us your views on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Well, there we've got pictures coming in about the Rhino Rally. We're saying people coming out in support there with a message written on their hand. They're asking for us to do something. This one says, stop killing rhinos. The Ridge saying no to killing rhinos, stop killing rhinos. And you see people coming out on social media using that hashtag. There's another one saying, stop killing rhinos. Rally for rhinos. And here is another one coming in from Simon. Says, stop killing our rhinos. Soon we will only have memories left. Now, it is a Friday, so let's set the mood with DJ Muzi.gp, who's known in his musical circles as Vuzi Muzi Ntsasana. It is an influential player in the house music scene and continues to satisfy many musical lovers in and around Mzansi. DJ Muzi.gp started off DJing in his 30s, and today he shows us what he is here to do with one of his latest singles. Well, can you please take it away?
No matter what they say. So good, was waiting for